I came to an obscure chemical, and then it was called methylene blue. I remember from medical school days saying, oh, it's one question in a test, what is it good for? It's only good for this one condition called methemoglobinemia, which is a condition where your blood cells, you don't have enough oxygen, you kind of suffocate to death. You give this, and a miracle happens, and you're cured. And I said, wow, this is a pretty cool chemical. Let me take a look at it. So as I looked in it more in terms of the antiviral effect of it, antibacterial effect of it, I kept getting more and more studies. So it took me a few months, 6 months, 8 months of over 800 studies. I read all these studies. All these things are FDA approved by themselves. If you combine it, what happens? Would it work? I sent it off to a pharmaceutical manufacturing in New York. They made it. They sent it to me. So he tries it. I try it. What do you think? I don't know. I didn't feel anything. I said the same thing. I didn't really feel anything. I feel good, but I can't say what that is. The following week, COVID hit. Office got shut down. Here we are. We have this medicine that we could have used or doing something, and it's just sitting there. Called up my friends. Hey, do you have any COVID patients? We sure do. Everyone's being rejected from the emergency rooms. There's no treatment. They're just letting them go. They say we can't do anything. So, what do we do? Here you go, try this. Here you go, try this. 10, 20, 30, 100% efficacy, no side effect. They had to prove with a PCR test they were positive. 10 days after, you had to show PCR you were negative. Everybody, 100%, no side effects. Then we said, there's something there. 100, 200, 400 patients. 100% efficacy, no side effect. 10 days, all cured. So we went to Mexico City. They were dying by the thousands. So we got accepted to do a study in 2 government hospitals, FDA study in 2 government hospitals in Mexico City. So we go there, and we start the trial. They give us a room, medical room, and says, here's your room, you can start your trial. For the first week, not one person showed up. Not one person, even though they told everybody, hey, come try this new study, it's going to be good, it's going to be COVID, it'll be fantastic. Then, because their head doctor, the chief was the doctor, told them, hey, you got to go get the treatment. This is what it is. They came in, got a treatment. In 2 days, they went back to work. 2 days, okay? The third day, there was a line out the freaking door around the hospital, right, with everybody that was sick coming in. And by that time, I had to come up with a certain different types of formulations. One was an IV. So I came up with IV. Our study is actually sublingual. Okay, so you put it under your tongue, you wear a light for an hour, you were healed. Okay? So we proved it. All right? So one of the doctors got admitted to the emergency, from the ER, got admitted to the ICU. She was very, very sick. They said, okay, what can you do for her? I said, I can try the IV if you want. You know, they said, okay, go ahead, try it. But our study was for the oral, sublingual. Don't worry, she's a very important person, you got to treat her. Go to the ICU, she's sick, she's lying in bed. We do the IV, say, okay, the IV protocol, you need 2 days of IV, then the rest of the 10 days you're going to do sublingual. Okay, no problem. We go downstairs, the following day, she's the first person in line out of the ICU. I'm looking at her going, what the hell are you doing here? She's going, after you gave me that IV, I felt so good. I wanted to get out. I assigned myself AMA, I'm going to come downstairs, I'm going to get an IV. So she came in, she was getting the IV, and then she said, you know, does your medicine do anything else? I said, no, it's just an antiviral. Well, you know, I have this headache from my meningioma. I'm standing there going, you have a meningioma? She goes, yeah, I've had this headache for 8 years because of my meningioma. Yesterday, it disappeared. So our study showed all 3 DNA profiles of the virus depleted to 0 in 3 days. 100% efficacy, 0 side effects, okay? He gets sick. I start him on the IV protocol right away to make sure he's negative. 2 days later, he comes back. He says, Doc, there's something wrong. Oh my God, you're going to be the first side effect. Thank God, because now I really think it's a real medicine, right? You have to have some kind of side effect. It has to be, right? He goes, well, I'm throwing guys like they're paperweights. I've never done that before. Okay, what's going on? Is it a steroid? I'm very afraid, because if it is, they're going to disqualify me, and I'm not going to be able to get my $1 million purse. I said, I swear to you, it's not a steroid. It has no properties. It goes in, does what it does, and comes out. Okay? He goes, no, I think there's something up. I said, no, I promise you, you're not going to be. They're not going to throw you out. He comes back the day later. He goes, I forgot to tell you. I said, oh God, now what? When I usually have to wait in between rounds, it's usually a minute and a half. And I usually take a minute and a half to be able to get myself back up and going around. Now it's only 20 or 30 seconds. You sure it's not a steroid? I said, I promise you it's not a steroid. It is not. You're not going to be disqualified. He comes back a day later with another complaint. I'm going, oh my God, now what? Well, he says, well, when I go in a ring, I can hear my coaches telling me what to do. Okay? But ever since you started me on this medicine, I can't hear them. My focus is strictly on the guy that I want to kill and destroy, but nothing else. And my reflexes are a little faster. And I said, all right, there's something to this guy. He's not just stating something. There's something going on. So I got so excited that we were able to prove all these things. It's incredible. So that's how I got into methylene blue and just nose dive into everything about methylene blue. So the past 3 years, we have over 3,000 patients that have done all kinds of versions of methylene blue, and we have tons of data regarding the side effects, the good, the bad, the ugly about methylene blue, okay? So bear with me. I hope I don't bore some of you, but let's go over some of the stuff, right? What is methylene blue? It's a dye. It was invented by a chemist so it can dye things blue, right? Then a doctor was using the dye in his laboratory, Dr. Elric. Okay, so the German scientist is called Henrik Karl, and the doctor was Dr. Paul Edermann and Paul Elric in 1891. This is a 140-year-old medication, 140 years old. All right. So they said, hey, we can actually. When he saw the destruction of the bacteria in the blood cells, because he was just staining them to see what's happening, he found out, hey, it's a pretty good antibiotic. And he found out that it's excellent against malaria, which was rampant back then. Okay? And you could kill malaria in 3 days. 3 days. It took a few years, but Matilda Brooks found out that it's a great antidote against carbon monoxide poisoning and cyanide poisoning. Fantastic. All right? And, of course, it's a pre-medicated. Back in the 50s, we have one of the first very good, back then, antipsychotics was chlorpromazine. Back then, it was the only thing they had, and it worked really well against psychosis. Excellent. I'm going to stick to the things that's important to us. All right? How we're going to use it, but why. Some of you want to know why. Why does it work the way it does? It is a partial liposomal agent, which means it goes in the mitochondrial matrix. What does that mean? As you were told, we have a few thousand of these little mitochondria. Okay? They are the manufacturers of your gasoline, ATP. That's your gasoline. Without those, you die. So that's where the fuel is being made, where your entire body utilizes. Okay? And you see that's right there where the blue square is pointing to, rectangle? That is inside the mitochondria. It's called mitochondrial matrix and cisternae. That cisternae has these other manufacturing facilities. Complex 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That is how your ATP is being produced. Okay? That's where the fuel comes from. Whether you like it or not, everything turns into that. Just try to make the fuel from there. So see the dark brown stuff? It's called the matrices. That's where all the good stuff, that's where your glycolytic cycle is. That's where the sugar gets broken down and gets into a small compound. Electrons are, and it makes into ATP in the matrices, okay? There's a gap between the first and the second layer of cells. That's where the electrons are, hydrogen, okay? Now, This is a more detailed version of that cell wall, where it goes. You've heard of NAD. Almost everybody heard of NAD, right? A lot of people get NAD IVs. Okay? Why? So when you get a cold, what happens after the first day of cold? You get tired. You get tired very quickly for a few days, up to 7 days. Why? Because as soon as you get caught with a virus, the cell tries to protect itself. It protects itself by upregulating NAD to make ATP, so ATP can protect your cells and can have enough energy for DNA repair. Okay? So it's very important for NAD to be upregulated. It means a hell of a lot more production of NAD to make ATP. Without NAD, there's no ATP. Okay? At the very last stages there. All right? So NAD goes up. If NAD goes up and it's used, what happens to all the NAD? It gets broken down. If all the NAD is used up, what happens to your energy level? It goes down. Because it's upregulating to get your ATP, but as we age, above 35, 40, the recycling process for NAD is broken down. That's why we get tired earlier as we age. The recycling process of NAD. If you don't have that working well, NAD continues to stay down, you get tired. If you get NAD infusion, you bounce right back up because the recycling process isn't done very well. How do you fix that? Sometimes you can fix it by intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting has been shown in studies to increase the recycling process, rebuilding of the recycling process, because that's very, very important. Okay? So here comes methylene blue. It says, hey, NAD, give me that electron. I'm going to take it away from you. NAD and FAD are robbed from their electrons. Okay? It's just a little pass from one chemical to another chemical. Okay? Once I pass this to the other chemical, I get used up. Okay? Then I go to another process where I have to recycle myself to get built up again. Okay? And methylene blue comes in, says, hey, don't get used up. I'll take this little doohickey from you. I'll go all the way to the end. I won't go from one cycle to the other, because in order to make ATP, you have to go from 1, 2, 3 to 4. If any one of those are broken, or don't work, or work intermittently, or less than what they should, you get something called mitochondrial disease, mitochondrial dysfunction. So here comes methylene blue. Comes and robs NAD and FAD of electrons. Says, hey man, don't worry about it. I'm going to take your electron, bypass the entire manufacturing process, and go straight to cytochrome C and make ATP. Don't worry, chill, relax. I'll do all the work. Then, methylene blue can't get broken down by your body. Your liver cannot break it down. It stays either leukomethylene blue or methylene blue, and that's it. And it is such an awesome chemical. You've just heard a word called redox. It's very important, okay? This is the auto-recycler. Because of the pH, it is such an amazing chemical. It auto-recycles, which means at certain processes, it donates, and in another section, it accepts. So it sits there. Thank you very much. Here you go. Thank you very much. Here you go. Without the requirement of ATP or any other enzyme to be able to do what it's doing. It's an amazing process. It's an amazing chemical. It requires nothing. But you have to be able to get it from your mouth to the blood, to the cell, to the mitochondria. That's where the expertise comes in and the way this chemical was built by us. Okay? That's the reason why we're using the gold, silver, and the copper. And you can't just use any gold, silver, and copper, because if you do, if it's too small, the silver clump in the cell and kill the cell. Your liver starts breaking down. Okay? Same thing with gold. Specific size, specific amount. They all do different things. And that's why it does what it does. Okay? So methylene blue is an amazing product. That's how it creates ATP. That's how your cells get energy. So imagine, you're an athlete, and this is legal, by the way. USADA, which is the governing body for athletes, have approved it. You're taking this product. You can run farther, without use of oxygen. Okay? It produces ATP without oxygen. Okay? That's what's amazing about this. Okay? So imagine holding your breath longer underwater, being able to get a pick-me-up in the morning. It goes in, not a steroid, comes right out. Absolutely, it doesn't touch any of your cells, except it does what it does. Then your body is smart. Your body methylates it. The way your body gets rid of it is methylating it, turns into leukomethylene blue, and then all of a sudden it leaves your body. Regular methylene blue, 3 to 5 hours half-life. Means it only lasts 3 to 5 hours, 50% pop concentration. Ours, 22 to 24 hours. Okay? Imagine that.
You know, Dr. Bennett has a tremendous amount of knowledge around methylene blue.